My name is Richard Wilson. I'm here in Glorieta, New Mexico, just outside of Santa Fe, and it's 2011, early spring. What I'd like to share with you is a small part of my story. I use it as kind of a healing process, or it's a wholesome practice of integrating and also articulating rhythms through the body, embodying the rhythms of our culture and what's been passed down to us through traditional music and dance, and also through military tradition of military rudimental beats.
The universe is a spiral, and we can touch that. And it's into the spiral, and here's your spiral up here. And this is, to me, is like, the armchair Buddha guy, And all you're doing is, instead of sitting meditation, you're doing moving meditation. When it comes into us, we have to separate it to two sides, right and left. That's where you're getting a binary, 2 feet. A binary system is what we're using. And that makes the difference between what we normally view in music. Because most of our music is based on keeping the beat on 1 foot. Check it out. A lot of people do that. Now, as you get into the other thing, you move it so that you're actually doing it as a walking, because that's more, where's my foot there? I'm not going anywhere, But when you're walking, and this is the way they do it in the Army, you don't walk while you move. You don't learn to walk while you're moving. You learn to walk in place. All together as one.
In 2004, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I took on a year-long treatment at that time. And fatiguing as it is, you do a lot of sitting around. And during that time, I began to, you might say, turn within. And I started with my heart and worked my way out, and just to see what rhythm meant within us. Began, you might say, with some of the root rhythms like your heartbeat, breathing, and walking. And I believe walking is a kind of a root rhythm that we learned before we even knew who we were. And everyone has their own walk. They learn to stand up and walk the next thing almost after infancy, and when you become a toddler, and that's what you learn, is you learn to stand up and walk, and that's even before you know your name. Perhaps because we have 1 beat on each foot, 2 feet to start with, we have a kind of a binary type of system. When we get into walking, again using the diagonals and moving it across, then we find out that the uplift actually happens to get across between the feet. That becomes a part. And we use it as a kind of landing and a launch to the other foot, so that going across things is now we're building a kind of momentum from a kind of launch pad that we can push into the next beat. So that becomes a very big part of feeling like we want to move, because it's lifting us up and propelling us forward with a kind of an urge or drive. One is always in the air or free to move, and the other is always a supporting factor in the keeping of balance.
And so I did get into the rudimental drumming, and that actually is probably our oldest thing that's been passed down traditionally. One drummer to the next. Whoever won the war got to play the tune. kind of things. And they're the ones that ended up. And in the Civil War, well, we actually wrote those down. There was 26 of them or something at the time. But before that, those are really blueprints of how we move. They show you how the energy is moving between the 2 feet, and then what you can do with that. Now, the military use it in a specific purpose, to make a killing machine.
Also, at this time, I became reconnected with my past and the issues from my Vietnam experience. I spent 6 months as a grunt in infantry at the 5-7 Cavalry. Recombining with that experience put me in touch with a kind of military tradition that was passed down, drumming, and that's how they taught a civilian to become part of the troop. Without hesitation, you can move and act. In some ways, there's others. The thing about you hear about drill sergeants being in your face all the time. Well, that is to get the person to realize that there is no, does not matter what you think. There's only what's real is what's in front of your face, and at that time it's a drill sergeant. And when you're in a combat situation or in those kind of situations, what is in front of your face is very important. And so, rather than what you think, they must have did something as they walked home to help them process, after you've saved your village or after you've defended your homes from some sort of disaster, and then you come back, you must be processing as you walked along, because it's so integrating when you do walking. And cadences are the little loops that they help you march by. These cadences also help you they use them in teaching you to become a soldier. They use them so that for a kind of preliminary of what you're going to meet, so that you're able to deal with what you're going to see over there. On patrol down dead-end streets, never can tell what you might meet. Right, left, stand out all alone. Time you start your walking home. Might have thought things gone too far for all that's innocent in their car. Take it out, it weren't no sin. Army said that's the war we're in. Darkness, shadows, and hidden bends preempt the light from foe and friend. Can't be helped, it's the way of man. They to us and us to them. It's a limb that's missing, still seems there. You can take your pick if you think that's fair. Checks in the mail, you've heard it said. Meds and appointments till you're dead. Check the perimeter on the house. Read the manual on stress and spouse. Serve with honor and you get the box. Fill out the form and you get the socks. Unless, of course, you can't agree with the ghosts that's surrounding thee. Might be a chance and you up the prize. Moment's peace against the loaded dice. Or maybe the vet's the place to go. They're brothers and buddies and those that know. You'll find respect and you're not alone. Everybody's hurt and welcome home.
Best caller I know, and feel like I got the right start learning to contra dance from Richard.
Round you go, ladies!
hands under. Ladies come under. Cradle. Polka.
This is Spanish, not French.
The thing I like about being at a dance is that Richard will never yell at the dancers. And that no matter how snarled up you think you are, Richard's always like, you can do this dance. This is all you got. You're almost there. You're almost there. You always feel very empowered.
And the hands against each other.
Right, left,
Yeah,
right.
it's got. You have a little push right against, and it's a hands down kind of turn. And then you're going to keep that pressure and have a hands up and do a reverse swing.
He encouraged me and some other folks to call, and I felt pretty cocky, and I could call a dance, and Richard would sort of say, well, that was pretty good, and then I thought, well, damn, I thought that was real good, but and he'd say, why don't you try something harder, and I'd try something harder, and I did pretty good with that, and he said, well, that was pretty good, but and I thought maybe it was even real good, but he says, try something harder, and
Guys, okay down there? I don't think. I think
Girl, too. We're both girls.
this is going to be difficult.
finally I tried something harder, and the whole thing fell apart, and I felt miserable, and Richard came up and patted me on the back and said, that was great.
One, we consider, our big number. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, one is the beginning and the end of everything. So it really doesn't play much of a part there. It always starts something and it always ends something. And the one during the music usually comes out of the music. It's not like put into the music. It's already there. Ding dong, ding dong, oh how lovely.
A tradition could be said to mean passed down from one person to the next. So, in a sense, these things are beyond history and are passed down through history to us, and we are, by participating in them with other people, passing them down one person to another. When you become part of a tradition, a living tradition, it's somewhat like stepping into a stream, and it's flowing, and it's never the same twice. You might say you always, it's a pathway, and you seem to always progress one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 year at a time, and every time it's something new and one step further.